In the area of Zvetovy and Krymina, the initiative went over to Russia. Sid Roman Vlosenko, head of the Severodonetsk Regional Military Administration. The enemy has no particular success, there are no breakthroughs, Vlosenko said. Deputy Defense Minister Anna Mali are also reported on the aggravation of the situation on the Eastern Front. According to her, the Russians have been actively advancing on the Kupiansk sector for 2 days in a row. We are on the defensive, there are stubborn battles, the positions of the parties changed dynamically several times a day, Malia wrote. Today's reports of the General Staff of Ukraine see that the enemy is concentrating its main efforts on the Kupiansk, Liman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Maryanka sectors, where 39 clashes took place over the past day. The General Staff also reports that the enemy was conducting unsuccessful offensive operations south of Novosolovsky in the Kupiansk sector. In turn, the Russian side claims ongoing fighting in Novosolovsky itself, where they allegedly control about 25% of the village. Also in the Russian Telegram channels, they talk about fierce battles in the Kupiansk area for the village of Tsinkivka and in dense forests north of the village. In the Lamanda section, according to the Russians, fighting continues on the outskirts of Torsky and in the areas of Yampolivka and Makievka. In the Serebransky forest area, the Russians are announcing an advance from Shipalivka. Let me remind you that offensive actions of Russian troops in the direction of Kupiansk and Lamand have been reported since mid-June. According to experts, the Russians want to go to the eastern shore of the Oskil Reservoir in order to take a more convenient line of defense. And to the south, along the criminals' Liman line, go to the left bank of the Seversky Donets River in order to create a threat from the flanks for the grouping of Ukrainian troops in Bilohorivka and Siversk. In the Bakhmut sector, according to Deputy Defense Minister Anna Maliar, we are gradually moving forward. There is an advance every day on the southern flank near Bakhmut. On the northern flank, we are trying to hold our positions the enemy is attacking. And Bakhmut itself, we are shilling the enemy and the enemy is firing at us, writes Maliar in his Telegram channel. The reports of the General Staff today see that our defenders successfully repelled all enemy attacks in the area southwest of Andreyevka. On the Russian side, they say that the armed forces of Ukraine continue attacks in the direction of Klishchivka, Kurdyamivka, and Berkivka, seeking to establish control over key heights. The Russians say that the situation near Klishchivka is difficult for their troops, where they are constantly gathering reinforcements and bringing them into battle. An interview with one of the Wagner PMC commanders appeared in Russian Telegram channels, which I want to share with you. In my opinion, this interview gives a deeper understanding of what is happening near Bakhmut. When asked about the situation near Bakhmut, the PMC commander gave a detailed answer. In short, the Bakhmut meat grinder continues. The situation in the Bakhmut sector is now very difficult. From this strong point, the Ukrainian army has the ability to completely control Klisievka with fire and develop an offensive on Bakhmut. North of Bakhmut, the Ukrainian army seeks to capture the heights west of Soldar and also to reach the M03 highway in the area of the settlement of Berkivka. This was the main way of supplying the armed forces of Ukraine during the fighting for Soldar and Bakhmut. The Ukrainian army, in an effort to save personnel for the offensive, actively uses artillery and drones. Ukrainian armed forces units create grave zones with artillery fire after Russian units are forced to leave their positions, being under constant artillery fire, trying to hold them by fire control. After that, the Ukrainian army brings its units to these positions without a fight and begins again to process the positions occupied by the units of the Russian army with artillery. Thus, after the departure of PMC Wagner from Bakhmut, the armed forces of Ukraine have already taken control of the settlement of Zalesnyansky-Berkivka Reservoir, seized the section of the railway north of Bakhmut, secured supplies for themselves along the section of the Chasivier-Kromo V road, and took control of all the dominant heights around the settlement of Klishchivka. Thus, this settlement is already in the gray zone. If the Ukrainian army manages to reach the settlement of Opane, they will complete the coverage of the city. But we must not forget about Soldar and the north, of which there are also fierce battles. The Ukrainian army seeks to capture the settlement of Yakovka.